You are watching CIOTV by Enterprise IT World, a production of Accent Infomedia.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Warm welcome to all of you to this very important panel discussion on security analytics as a service, the next generation of security operations. Well, this panel discussion is presented by Securonix and iValue. Little bit about both the companies. Securonix delivers a next generation security analytics and operations management platform for the modern era of big data and advanced cyber threats. On the other hand, iValue Info Solutions is a key player in digital asset protection and data network applications management space. So why this event or why this panel discussion is happening? All you learned CIOs and CISO attending this one, you are suffering from these cyber challenges day in, day out. Cybersecurity is becoming very, very sophisticated. Attacks are becoming really, really sophisticated. You never know what is going to happen. Every day, something or other happening. Spoofing is a daily affair. So how to do it? How to fix the situation? You already have tried so many of end solutions, endpoint, including your server protection, your application protection, your network, everything on the endpoint side. But still, then you are getting similar kind of challenges. In this situation, it's we are talking a lot about AI ML being utilized in different other sectors. Now, AI ML based cybersecurity analytics is gaining momentum in this space as well. It is becoming a talk of the town. But challenge with the cybersecurity leaders or the IT leaders is that how to manage with the skill sets, how to manage the infrastructure, how to manage the resources. Now, in this situation, the reprieve, the solution is how to make the entire solution as a service, how to keep the cost under control. At the same time, you can also gain the access or these required potion or medicine to prevent any attack or any spoofing. So it's a very small kind of panel discussion. Of course, that not that very small. It's a 1 hour and 30 minutes of event. We'll start with the panel discussion, which will be moderated by Mr. Sumeet Sharma, Associate Director, KPMG India. He's a known face in the industry. Must be all of you are aware about him. Sumeet, welcome. After that, of course, I'll be introducing all the panelists one by one. We have got Harshil Doshi, who is the Regional Director for India and SAARC for Securonix, who will give a brief introduction of the company and take us through some trends in this space. Plus, then you can hear your questions and we'll end with that. With this, let me introduce all our panelists one by one. Mr. Sumeet Sharma, Associate Director, KPMG India. Welcome, Sumeet. To give a background of Sumeet, he is a specialized customer engagement manager, delivery manager. He has set up many client accounts, application outsourcing platforms, and transition of customers solutions, including ERP, very effectively, and and he is also responsible for ERP implementation support across geographies. He has worked in various MNCs, IT MNCs, particularly in different regions, including Europe, India, and the US. Sumeet, welcome once again. Then we have got Mr. Rishi Rajpal, Global Security Leader, Concentrix. Rishi is self-motivated IT personnel with an eye of customer service. He's good team player and team leader too. He thinks strategically and creatively about the accounts and business and has a knack for building rapport with his colleagues and clients. He has excellent skills in understanding a problem, probing for possible outcomes, and then finding the solution that will work. Rishi, warm welcome to you. All right, with him is Mr. Muneer Hassan Wani. He's CISO, Jammu and Kashmir Bank. Muneer has a strong foundation and extensive cross-functional expertise and experience in information technology and information systems, cybersecurity particularly, including but not limited to advisory roles, consulting roles, architecture, and designing. He has experience in creating full project lifecycle management, client and vendor relationship management, and finance and operational management as well. Welcome to you, Mr. Muneer. Then we have got Mr. Harshil, Doshi, Regional Director, India and SAARC Securonix. He is experienced and enterprise security professional with over 15 years of experience in enterprise sales, evangelism. He is leader for pre-sales and cybersecurity space. He specializes in creating high-impact go-to-markets and extremely complex enterprise security architectures linked to business risks. Structured multi-million-dollar deals, worked with cross-functional teams, have a very strong relationship with the top CISOs in the country, and he has been speaker in various industry forums for many days. Last but not least is Mr. Sriram S, CISO, Chief Strategic Officer, iValue Info Solutions Private Limited. He has got more than 2 decades of experience. I know Sriram from before 2000, I believe. He specializes in business management of technology solution, high growth, result in both business and technology management, profit center. He has had, different organization in different roles and successfully steered all those organizations and in those roles. And he's responsible for creating iValue or taking iValue brand into different geographies as well. So before I hand it over to Sumeet, a small housekeeping rule that all the participants will be in mute mode, but your Q&A and chat window is open. Please engage with our leaders, try to understand what is there as a cybersecurity analytics as a service which is picking up now, whether it can fit your budget or not, how to go about it, how to reduce visibility and remedial solutions in order to prevent any attack. So with this, I would request Sumeet to come over and take it forward from here.
Sure. Thanks, Sanjay, for the nice introduction, and also I would say setting up the background and the context of this discussion. And as you very well said, it's a very important discussion, and especially for our CIOs and CISOs community. It's always a game of if I may use the word Tom and Jerry. So who is Tom and who is Jerry? Sometimes that is the trick out here. So let's, I think, dive into that, and just not to spend let's say too much time. I think we know the importance of the topic, but the thing is that I just wanted to little bit set a context that what has happened in the last decade is that so if we just turn back the clock 10 years earlier, probably we wouldn't have been discussing this topic, and even information security as such was more limited to a kind of something locked up in the vault in my office. So something locked up there, it's secure and it's fine. But now I think with cloud also coming in, and and a lot of across the organization, there's a lot of integration, information exchange. Employees need to be on the road, on the mobile. Bring your own device. Those things happening. So information is many times a screenshot away nowadays. As we say it. So there's a lot of rules to be done. But at the same time, the business needs productivity. Business needs agility. And so rather than applying restrictions, you have to be watching those productivity scenarios that we give to our employees and all. So what I wanted to just bring about the fact that we are going to discuss analytics on SecOps or security operations, but security operations as such, as a service, or as a function in the organization, is still maturing in a lot of organizations. So while within this panel we have the right experts who have been in this field for years now, you are defining the field itself. But as I talk to a lot of my clients, other ecosystem, they are still maturing onto information security as a function, as a specific area to focus on. So I would say in today's discussion, we will also try to carry that portion of our colleagues also along with, so that we come to a ground level and then we build up or kind of also handle their Q&A on that part. So having said that, what I want to just kind of kickstart our discussion is basically, Sriram, I'll first go with you in this case. See, you have a lot of industry experience, and you have seen this transformation of security operations, coming as a function, and also you have seen probably a lot of tools and technologies around it. So what are the key current challenges as a role of a security as a function? What kind of challenges you see, and yes, we'll come on to the analytics piece, but let's just first see what is happening at the ground.
Thanks, Sumeet. As you rightly said, the evolution has been pretty fast. And just to point out 3-4 of the evolutions which have happened recently. When cloud came in, the IT infrastructure moved from a private data center out. And then the SaaS started coming in, which moved the applications and along with the data onto the cloud. And then the pandemic came in, moving the endpoints out of the perimeter. So over a period of time, the environment, which was very cozy, which was more, I would say, controlled in a private data center with perimeter, started getting opened out in all sides. And suddenly you have a situation where the perimeter became irrelevant. And suddenly you have a situation where the digitization drive has put the organizations on the edge. On a 24/7 basis, now you are exposed to the internet across devices and across, I would say, applications. So that has really opened up the challenge for the CIO, CTOs to keep ahead of the threat. On the other side, the analytics, the cloud, the AI, the ML techniques are being used by the threat side also. So they are also leveraging all these technologies. For them, the ROI and taking decisions are much faster, is because now you have ransomware as a service, and you make money immediately. So there is no need for a CFO approval for the threat actors to employ all these new age techniques to really make money out of the situation. So given these challenges, it is really important to look at how a collaborative system, an open system, in a service model, with a lot of integration and insight, with a lot of taking insights, inputs from a third-party intelligence. This kind of an approach is what is required to stay ahead. It is impossible for a single brand, single player, single vendor to be a protector for an enterprise and a corporate kind of a situation. So a collaborative approach with an open stack, with a threat intelligence sharing kind of a scenario is a very minimal ask. And if it is available as a service, and which makes it affordable plus scalable, is the ask for a CIO, CTO today.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's fine. So also I would also put a focus on to how the tools are changing. So as you already said, focus has been now shifting more to, one is that how I respond, and one is how I detect the threats itself. So there's a lot of focus on from being a reactive to a proactive approach. I think that's what you are hinting, and that's also a challenge as well as a opportunity. It's in both sides. So opportunity from a solution aspect, how we can leverage new technologies like machine learning, AI you also mentioned, but I was just want to put a thought from Muneer here. So basically, Muneer, we would want to know that how these tools are adapting and changing, across time. Now we hear a lot of security orchestration, also being in focus, as we move from proactive kind of a situation. So just your thoughts on the tools aspect, how it helps the current CISO as a function.
Well, thank you very much, Sumeet. I think Sriram opened it very well. We have been talking about emergence of cybersecurity and means as a domain for long. If we see, we started long back with very basic tools which have been used for cybersecurity to protect the brick and mortar kind of models, wherein we were using, for example, a separate firewall, a separate intrusion detection system, or a separate intrusion prevention system, a separate content filtering box, and then on top of it, for example, some other things in terms of certain protection for data exfiltration and all. And this was being managed as a brick and mortar kind of model within an enterprise. And over a period of time, once the centralization has actually taken over, the entire thing was moved to the centralized environments, to the data centers and DR locations. So organizations and enterprises across the globe started actually positioning these devices in their data center and DRs and bringing security very close to their crown jewels, which was actually placed in data center and DR. But today, as we see, as Sriram has clearly articulated, there is no line between CUG environment and internet now. It is all blurred. And now when we are talking about going onto the cloud, we have moved a lot of workloads from our data centers to the cloud. And then SASE came in, wherein today the emerging technology which is coming up, I'm sure it is going to take the front seat in next 2-3 years, which is again bringing compute and bringing data close to the edge again. So we are going all around. Means we have started from the decentralization model, did the centralization with DC and DR, and then did on a cloud model, and now getting back this entire thing to the edge itself. So now the fuel, the data, which is the real power, is being processed, consumed at every level, at an individual level. And when we are talking about security, it has actually increased the attack surface all across. And now the technologies which have been employing, if you see, for example, there are frameworks from NIST, which is the NIST cybersecurity framework, or we say ISO 27001, 2013, and fortunately means ISO started a new framework yesterday by ISO 27001, 2022. With a module added on top of it for data privacy and all. So that has started. Or any other framework. For example, you have a Center for Internet Security. There is a framework. They talk about deployment of somewhere around, I would say not less than 23 to 24 odd technologies as a baseline security for the organization. And now when you are talking about a huge organization or any enterprise of the mid-size, try to understand deployment of these entire technologies across the enterprise, and then the amount of information they are bumping on to the centralized event management and correlation tools. It's huge. And the obligation on enterprises is, why do enterprises spend that much on this? They actually want assets, the trust of their customers on their digital assets. That is the objective. But to be very honest, once we have taken up these, we have seen, means we started with SIEM. Now we are talking about the latest generation SIEM with Intel feeds coming onto SIEM, and then It is not happening. It is not happening as a greenfield implementation, as Sriram said, taking a single vendor, asking him, okay, please come in and do the greenfield implementation all across. Do my network security, do my cloud security, do my email security, do my desktop security, do my application security, do my database security, do my means whatever you talk about, whether it is from security perspective. A single vendor cannot do that and has not been doing that. So we have multiple vendors, and multiple vendors are it has been very difficult for organizations to actually bridge these multiple vendors together to get a unified view of what is happening. As on today, organizations are doing it, but probably it's not a wholesome solution as I see it. For example, what organizations have been doing is they are actually pointing all these applications and silos towards a single security incident and event management system. And they see it as a reactive thing, as it is not a proactive threat defense system. It is a reactive, I would say, on-point threat defense system as on that point of time. But then, what is the expectation of board and management? What is the expectation of the custodians of the customer trust? The expectation is that we move a step further ahead and have a holistic view of what's going on, so that we can take certain proactive decisions. For example, I'll give you an example. We usually do the vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So usually how we do it? We give the number of assets to the concerned company, or we do it internally by putting a VA scanner, or we employ certain companies, they do the VAPT. And through vulnerability assessment and penetration testing, they give us the details of what are the vulnerabilities which are open in your system, correct? But do we have a real correlation in place that if one vulnerability of asset A is actually exploited, what else has a rippling effect inside the enterprise? We don't have that. And for that, and very important thing when we are talking about information security, as you started it, Sumeet, you said we need to detect, we need to deter, we need to respond, and we need to recover as well. For that, we need to have a comprehensive analytics in front of us. But again, putting on this analytics and adding all these assets together is very cumbersome for the organization because of lack of security professionals, because of lack of those huge budgets. And I would say, yes, if there is an option available wherein this security analytics can be taken off the premise and put on as a service model, it would be a wonderful thing, subject to the condition that it is economical and it is able to take care of all spheres of all spheres. Like, for example, as a scheduled commercial bank, we may afford to have a security analytics on cloud, but there are urban cooperative banks, there are regional rural banks, there are other enterprises who do not have this much funding and this much budgets. Whether they will be able to come into this arena, that is the question. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Muneer, for that thought of view. So what we see is that while security ops is generating a lot of data, also processing it, as you said, for threat prevention purpose as well. So I'll just like to move on to Rishi here. So Rishi, we want your view on basically, we like Muneer touched on the fact that data is important, so we need analysis. But let's just first see what type of data we are gathering in this process, and what type of KPIs might be important, and then we see what is to be put as a service out there. So I think for the service part, I'll come back to you, Harshil, on that. But let's just hear from Rishi on the KPIs related to this data, from a security operations point of view.
Yeah, so I would say today in modern SOCs, we collect a lot of data, right? A lot of data. The efficacy of the SOC is how do you get signals to noise ratio, right? Yeah. Unless you have all the data, how would you capture signals? And that is very, very important. And that's the key role played by analytics these days, right? So how do you get actionable information from the logs that you're getting? We've always talked about needle in the haystack, and that is really key. Now, obviously, we were too much dependent on our SOC analysts to find that information, but we know that overall system has not really worked well because there's a limit to number of people that you can scale in your SOC, right? The data is expanding on a daily basis. GBs have become TBs, TBs have become PBs. Now, obviously, you cannot have, for an internal consumption, you cannot have 200, 300 people in SOC looking at their data. So it has to be backed by technology, which will give you actionable information. I'm always in for human intervention because that is still be required. But I think all the mundane and routine tasks has to be passed on to technology. And as we mature in this, where AI and ML will play a key role, and then the next phase of maturity is obviously orchestration. And orchestration is all about getting the pieces together and giving you a full story, right? What happened, when, on which device. And that can only happen when you are kind of orchestrated well, because as my friends talked about in the panel, we have all sorts of brands in our network, right? Unfortunately, right, you cannot really say that I will have only one brand so that orchestration become easy. You tend to have best of the technologies. Obviously, that comes with different brands. Now, when everybody sings together, that's the time you get a perfect chorus. So, and when you get a perfect chorus, then you can talk about the next level, which is taking actions in a way that also involves less of human intervention, right? So I think that's a normal phase. That'll be my take on it.
Sure. Thanks so much, Rishi. So moving on, Harshil, we want to also, invite you, because you talk to a lot of clients. You are, out there in the field. You talk to a lot of, across industry also, that way. So what kind of, from a, because we heard from all the panel is that, there's a definitely need for analytics as a service in SecOps, So Rishi also touched upon, we can have a, the regular mundane, monitoring thing, at least put it up as a standard service. But yes, Muneer also talked about the effectiveness of that, service also. So, but as a someone out there in the field, so I think you see a lot of opinion from other leaders. So let's hear from you on that.
Sure. So, Sumeet, thanks for that question. And I think the panelists, my co-panelists kind of set the stage very well. 2 or 3 key asks or trends that we are seeing from our customers, whoever we speak to right now, is that security operations is no longer a check mark. It's no longer just a compliance issue, right? A bank is not running its security operations because it has to. A telco is not running a security operations because it's asked to, right? And a manufacturing company is not running a security operations because they are mandated to, right? They are all wanting to run security operations because they do not want their business to be disrupted or their brand to be out there in the newspapers for all the wrong reasons. Okay, there is a huge acknowledgement of a tangible risk which cuts across cyber, business, processes, brand, everything, right? And there is an acknowledgement that enterprise risk is now no longer just a compliance check mark. It is actually a board discussion because it impacts your customers, it impacts your brand, it impacts your future business, so on and so forth. So from that perspective, the skin in the game is really, really true, right? Now, what happens because of this is that there is a lot of seriousness in the way in which security is implemented, right? So as Muneer, Rishi, Sriram, everybody was saying that staying ahead of the game is the key, right? If we keep on being reactive, I think there is no objective that we are achieving, right? And the only way to stay ahead of the game is to think like the bad guys, right? What can they go after? Which are the most vulnerable links in my organization, whether it's my users, whether it's my processes, whether it's my technology, right? Finding the weakest link in my enterprise and creating models which will actually understand indicators of breach to those vulnerable aspects is the key. And that is where technologies like machine learning, I wouldn't use the term artificial intelligence because it's still, at least half a decade away. It's an abused term right now. Statistical modeling, you have behavioral analytics, all of those things are extremely important to understand the steady state of your business, to understand which are the vulnerable areas, and how do you predict what's going to go wrong in the future. So enterprises definitely want to stay ahead of the game. That is one. Second is there is a clear lack of skills in this particular space. I mean, we all agree that though India being a highly populated country and a highly skilled country from a technology perspective, information security still is niche, right? We still, I'm sure everyone out here is looking out, even right now as we speak, the right talent to hire their organization from a cybersecurity perspective. So how do you reduce that dependency from a human and transfer a lot of that to technology, right? Seamlessly, right? So that is another area which, organizations are now, kind of focused on. And of course, automation and orchestration is the key. So unless you reduce the mean time to detect and mean time to respond, you are actually not achieving any objective. So currently, when you look at the amount of weeks or months that enterprises take to even detect, a flaw or to fix it, if we are able to kind of reduce it to some minutes or hours, I think that's a very tangible. So these are the three critical elements that enterprises are looking today. And Securonix has been a great thought leader in this particular space. And that is the reason why we are the fastest growing security analytics in the world, catering to about 30% of the Fortune 500 to exactly achieve these objectives.
Sure. Thanks, Harshil. So Harshil, you basically kind of again knocked down on the similar point, being from reactive to proactive, then think as they do, the attackers do. So Sriram, here I want to kind of ask a kind of an interesting question to you. So typically you have a blue team and a red team, right? So as Harshil said, so in this discussion, so okay, sorry, just for the sake of everyone to bring on board. So blue team is going to become as defenders, and red team is kind of pseudo attackers. I would say they are our friends only, but they act as attackers. So that's how typically we try to work our way through security, right? Very typical conventional thought process. So this discussion now we are moving into, we are trying to set up analytics as a service for the security function. So should we focus on the blue team or red team, or what is your practitioner take on this?
Yeah, like our friend from J&K Bank explained, the security systems in any typical enterprise has evolved over time. Mm-hmm. So you typically start with a firewall, and then you look at an IPS, IDS, and then you look at web security, email security, and then that's how you gradually build your security posture. But then, as rightly pointed, the practicalities of best of breed requirements from most enterprises dictate that there are multiple brands and multiple solutions in the network. So for an integrated view and for them to talk to each other and then be proactive and then share and exchange intelligence or insights does not happen the way it should. So you need somebody in between to pull these guys together, talk to each of these guys, make an orchestration, make a exchange system of information between these guys, so that we understand what's really happening, and you actually get an integrated view of where we are and what's happening to the network. So that gives you at least, I would say, a visibility to where you stand in front of the threats. So that would be the first step. There's a lot of services which go beyond this, the point solutions, which will help you bridge those gaps between these best of breed offerings. And that's where a SIEM kind of a solution, which will bridge different brands, different, I would say, data exchange patterns, formats would get normalized, and you are able to get some kind of integrated view. That's only a starting point. But then to be ahead, to be proactive, and to be in the Tom and Jerry game, to be the chaser rather than the being chased kind of a situation, then you require openness of a platform, the platform's ability to get third-party intelligence, the brand's openness to be part of a consortium which will share intelligence, so that you know what's happening in Japan before India opens, so that you are ready for if that kind of a threat is going to come to you. So the AI, the ML, the proactiveness, the openness, the collaborative nature then starts really making a difference to your posture, how good you are and how effective you are. The red and blue are in the process to keep judging you. See, all the parts in this security in a data center are moving. The OS keeps getting updated. The security device gets updated. The versions go through different changes. So when one goes through an upgrade, we understand the challenges when Microsoft goes through an upgrade in our endpoint itself, what kind of a challenge it is to connect back to a Zoom or to connect back to a team. It becomes a real challenge just through an OS update. So imagine when there are 50, 60 brands and 50, 70 solutions, each having their own upgrades and needs. And after that, what happens? Do they still behave the same? Do they behave differently? So it's a continuous evolution, continuous challenge, continuous gaps, continuous assessment, and keep looking at it proactively and bridge it from your end rather than allowing the threat vectors to take advantage of it. So that's the intent. It's a continuous journey. It's not a destination, and the journey will only become tougher and tougher. And that's where the automation, the automated responses, those kind of inputs would help you keep the cost manageable, keep the talent count manageable, and make it sustainable from a business output perspective.
Sure. Thanks so much for that view, Sriram. So Muneer, you also talked about the importance of analytics as a service for this field. You kind of really highlighted that, underlined it. But before we hear more on that service, how it is being positioned, and I think Harshil will later kind of show us also on that. So as a practitioner, how are you going to measure the effectiveness of such a service? You little bit talked on that, but I just want to hear a little bit more detail. What are your expectations of such a service, and how are you going to measure it? Because
Absolutely.
as Sriram said, it's a evolving field, so threats are increasing, the choices are great.
Absolutely. So I would again drive our focus towards the already established cybersecurity frameworks, as I was discussing earlier as well.
Yeah.
But before I go to that section, I would say that we must be aware of what Sriram was saying or Harshil was saying, that these are the threats which remain undetected over a period of time. And we have seen nobody better than the banking environment must be privy to the fact that these have been very stealth threats which we usually know as advanced persistent threats and all. And we have seen these kind of threats which happen in our infrastructure, in any of the infrastructures, and they remain undetected over a period of long time. And the example of Bank of Bangladesh, when the Bangladesh Central Bank cyber attack happened, the threats were undetected for a period of from November 2015 up till February 2016 when the actual attack took place. So probably we have this impact within our enterprises, wherein we are being attacked. We have some kind of footprint of the hackers within our enterprises, and they generate a lot of logs, whether they are false positives, false negatives. As Rishi said, there is a lot of signal to noise ratio in that. But once it goes to SIEM tool, are we able to get that value out of it? Or are we able to identify what's going on is the real question. And yes, that is what is needed. And that is why we are talking about proactive threat defenses. With respect to your question in terms of matrix, I would say, if we see the capability maturity model index, which is CMMI levels, that by default talk about something should be measurable. And when we are talking about this measurable, if we see CMMI, if somebody wants to achieve a level from CMMI level 3 to level 4, he needs to have these KPIs and KRIs in place. So there are KPIs and KRIs with organizations which are in place, which gives them a comfort factor in terms of what is the return on security investments, because we cannot justify ROI, but we can justify ROSI, return on security investments, which is coming in. And by way of those measuring those quantifiable, it should be quantifiable value in terms of what I am achieving out of those analytics. Do I see a real value out of them? What are my key performance indicators over the last, for example, 6 months in terms of when I am being reconned, whether those recons have turned positive somewhere in terms of successful or successful attempts of intrusion thereafter. So those are the metrics and matrices which are available in the standards, which are adopted by the organizations, which every organization must be looking on to achieve through this analytical solution.
Sure. Thanks so much, Muneer. So just moving on to let's say now coming to the service part of it. So Rishi, like we want to also know from you that when we are now thinking about putting regular operations as a service. So one is the prediction part of it, one is the regular monitoring part of it. As Muneer said, what the KPIs also and the effectiveness of that. So what type of things or tools or technologies are available to us as a service currently? So just your take on that.
I think if you look at where we are moving today is mostly we are moving towards as a service model. Whether you talk about EDR, XDR tools, they are all available as a service SaaS offering from the cloud. I think, and it goes to a fact that spend your energy where you get the maximum ROI, right? Yeah. Gone are the days when you want to spend your energy on hardware uptime, operating system uptime, patching the infrastructure on-prem, right? You really want to spend your time, especially security team, to really investigate the incidents, right? I expect the OEMs will do a great job in detecting, but to do a deep down, the trend is that SOC should be spending most of the time investigating the issue. And that's where you see the value coming out, right? Yeah. So I think as a service makes a lot of sense. Predominantly, I would say cloud, because if you are a complex organization with offices in 100+ countries, right, you do kind of in a soup opening accesses and stuff like that. So gone are the days for on-prem. Every technology in security is moving to SaaS offerings, and you get the maximum ROI, and your team is spending the right time on the right stuff.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. So Harshil, moving on to you. You also told us about the industry insight, the pulse of the things and the ask, the challenges there. So how do you see currently? So you also I think wanted to also discuss on what type of tools your organization provides in terms of analytics. So why don't you give us a more detailed view on that?
So sure, Sumeet. What Securonix actually detected this particular trend over a decade back. Right. And we started our journey as a UEBA company back in 2009. Okay, and our whole objective at that point in time was to bring the user behavior aspect into detecting cyber threats, because as cybersecurity professionals, we all understand that humans are the weakest link in your entire chain, and understanding their behavior and having that indicator as part of your cyber threat becomes very, very important. So as a thought leader in this industry, we actually started with a very effective insider threat program that we used to run for large organizations, where we used to understand human behavior, user behavior, and add those aspects into their existing SIM deployments to enhance the threat detection. That is how we started off as a company. today we are a full-fledged security analytics platform where we offer a next generation SIM to our customers, whose platform is a big data platform. And I'll tell you why big data, because as everybody here kind of acknowledged that data is king today. I mean, there needs to be a platform which can ingest data at a very high pace and be able to run analytics on top of it. So just like gone are the days for on-premises, the days for relational database management systems. We are all working on a very highly scalable, efficient, and responsive big data platforms, which are able to churn and analyze events or data in the scale of terabytes per second, right? So those are the kind of, so that's our base platform on Hadoop where we run, and on top of it we have our machine learning platform where we have about 12 to 1400 odd machine learning based model use cases which the customers can adopt out of the box. And all of this is, as Rishi rightly mentioned, available as a service to our customers, right? You don't have to deploy a single piece of infrastructure in your on-premises to be able to run this service, right? And so that takes away the entire load of actually managing the infrastructure altogether and just focus on the threats altogether. So that is where Securonix has been focusing all this while, and we're pretty successful. Our cloud business has increased about 200% year on year for the last 2 years, right? Moving on, what we are doing is focusing a lot on automation and orchestration. Securonix just released its own SOAR platform. So now we have the response capability apart from detection as well. And we are doing some cutting edge work in the IoT space as well, where understanding threats on the IoT space is something which is very, very laser sharp focus. And from a delivery perspective, we are highly MSSP focused, service focused. We have about over 105 MSSP partners globally, which are leveraging Securonix as a platform to deliver MDR as a service or SOC as a service to our customers. So from that perspective, we are super excited, and innovation is what drives us, right? And the problems which enterprises face today, that is what drives us to innovate even more.
Meanwhile, I'll just take a pause to just request all our audience to post their Q&A in the Q&A box. So all our expert panel is there. I would request everyone to utilize this opportunity to ask any question, any clarification, or maybe just put in any other important point on the subject itself. So just requesting everyone to use this opportunity. Please put your question in the Q&A box, and we can very soon also pick it up. Harshil, you want to run us through the presentation that you had, or?
So Sumeet, what I was thinking is that since we have the audience and also an eminent set of panelists. Sure. What I would so the best way I think people get to see how it works is to see it live. Sure. Right? So instead of spending time on slides, I would just take about 2 to 3 minutes. Sure. To demonstrate what Securonix can do for enterprises. So is that okay? I mean, can I do that?
Yeah. I hope we feel secure after that, not that more threatened.
Of course. Because that's the whole objective. Yeah. So if that can be done, I'll just kind of take 2 or 3 minutes or maximum 5 minutes to demonstrate the power of Securonix in terms of what we are talking about. Okay. Sure. So with that, I'll just start sharing my screen if that is okay, and just let me know if you're able to see my screen. Also, are you able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
We can.
Fantastic. So guys, all of you are cybersecurity professionals, and you've always seen threats coming in your environment. but the way in which security operations have been running till now, okay, is that you have a SIM solution which kind of gives out isolated incidents to you, right? And your incident response team basically is burdened with hundreds, thousands, millions, in fact, incidents, over a period of time, and they are drowning in those incidents, right? What Securonix really aims at doing is that to simplify how threats are detected and how threats are responded, right? So the screen here that you're seeing is basically an attack which is developing over a period of time. Now, since you are core cybersecurity professionals, you would have heard of this particular backdoor attack called Carbonac, which kind of started off about 6-7 years back, and it was a very effective backdoor, which impacted a lot of banks across the globe, right? Now, a typical SIEM solution, what would it do is that only after the damage has been done, probably it will highlight, an incident that probably your data loss has happened, or, that too, depending on, a source giving you that information. But Securonix, what it typically does is that it starts picking up indicators right from the beginning, and it starts to chain, indicators of risk one by one, so that an enterprise does not have to wait till the damage has been done. They can actually take proactive measures while the attack is actually building in your environment. And hence, what we aim at doing is that we start chaining incidents to each other, so that it actually appears like a sequential attack being targeted for your organization. So stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, stage 5, so on and so forth. And it gives you a capability to take action at any stage and stop that attack in that particular stage at all, right? So if you look at each and every of these stages, okay, they are actually individual violations. A possible spear phishing, a suspicious child process executed on an endpoint, abnormal number of share access detected, beaconing traffic detected, and an attempt by a user to clear audit logs, right? Typically, it would take probably about 8 to 10 weeks for an incident analyst to even figure out that something has gone wrong. But here, what we are trying to do is that we are actually reducing your mean time to detect and hence mean time to respond. And all this is happening using machine learning. Okay, we are able to link each of these stages to each other, using machine learning as a technology. For example, how did we even detect spear phishing? Okay, the obvious argument is that I have an email security solution sitting at my edge, it will detect a phishing attack. But no, there are emails which can actually evade your email security solution today, and phishing emails can come in. Okay, and we are all aware about that fact. But Securonix, because it is a machine learning platform, it keeps generating the domain names that you are interacting with on a day-to-day basis, and builds this list called a typo squatted domain list, which are visually similar to the domains that your domain is interacting with. And any email coming from a typo squatted domain, okay, which has suspicious parameters, is highlighted as a typo squatted spear phishing attack, right? And then followed by something called a suspicious child process. Here again, a machine learning model called outlier detection basically is on play, where we say that this particular process has been run on an endpoint, which is a very rare process. We have not seen this process ever. How do you even detect something like that unless you don't know the baseline of how your environment is working? Again, machine learning in work. Same thing when we talk about abnormal number of admin shares, detected from a particular endpoint, right? So, when you see a baseline versus, what is your trend? Okay, you realize that 23rd March has a very abnormal number of detections happening. Same thing again for beaconing traffic. Okay, there are multiple machine learning models which basically are at play here to help you understand that, okay, this is not a typical human behavior. Nobody can connect to a CNC. They're probably hundreds of times in a second or in a minute to establish connections. So it is typically a robotic behavior which is in place. Again, audit log cleared by user, right? All of these are typical violations which are linked to each other to help you understand that there is an attack which is growing in your organization. And this is the value that Securonix brings to reduce your mean time to detect and mean time to respond, and reducing your false positives by over 60 to 70%, and giving you a predictive analytical environment to respond to your threats. So with that, I'd like to conclude and see if there are any questions. So I thought, Sumeet, instead of kind of doing some slides, I thought it would be great to demonstrate what is the value that we bring in.
Definitely, Harshil. In fact, I think we all are pretty excited to see those stages, and something like also, as I said in the beginning, let me also represent another set of community which is kind of getting, getting learning into this, importance of these things. But the thing is that I think, as you rightly said, let these tools watch what is happening and start telling us, because as Muneer and Sriram also said, that we can't have too many hands also all the time, and having hands is another challenge as well, which I think we talked about the talent issue as well. So having such tools which can keep watching what is happening, and also put those dots together, because that's the trend part of it, and then someone who's monitoring this tool can act on it. That is the human part and the the decision making or the talent part of it. But that is something we can live it, and this we all put it together as a service. That is the whole proposition of I think having this service. So I think that's nice. I think nice to see this demo. In fact, also nice to see that everything is being watched. Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah. But this brings one more point, if I may take a couple of minutes here, just to give you another view of the fact. 2-3 months back, I asked my father. He's almost 80 now. So I said, "Oh, what did you purchase yesterday? I saw some transactions." So he said, "I purchased McAfee, renewal. So my laptop had, so he renewed it." So I was like asking him, "Do you know what?" He said, "Yes, I know what it does, and it is going to protect my laptop." And I said, "Okay, how do you know?" Because then I entered into a discussion. So he was pretty aware. I think with all these recent, even a boy from a college can do anything, in the world. So he knows what is the importance of this. But yes, that doesn't still answer your question for the talent issue. But I think tool and talent have to go together. So I think, for example, because nowadays when we hire a lot of freshers, from college, so I call them like they are born in cloud. So they don't know the limit of data. We started using emails when there was limits. So these guys don't know the limit of a mailbox. So they're all born in cloud. But as you rightly said, now we have terabytes of data, even going into, further, units of measurement into that. But yes, the trick would be to stay ahead of the curve. I think we all as a panel, we agree to that. And I think analytics, as Muneer said, unless you can't measure, you can't improve. So analytics is the key. But the trick is to also put analytics as a service now. So that is the way forward on this, and also avoid that Tom and Jerry game that we talked about in the beginning. Inevitably it would be there. There will be always a blue and a red team, or a red team even outside from your organization. But I think with the right tools that we discussed today and we got enlightened on, So I think we are going to succeed in this information security role as such. Sanjay, over to you also, and let's see what all questions we are getting.
Yes, Sumeet, there are a couple of questions, but then since all the people are here, all our friends, known to each other, I will do one thing that if there is somebody who wants to ask question, I can unmute him also. I request anybody having any question can raise a hand and I can unmute. So that I think interaction can happen.
Yeah, that would be great, I think.
Yeah, I'll take some minutes, I'll see.
Yeah. So Harshil, there's one question from Shiva Kumar in Q&A box, if you want to pick it up.
Yeah, okay. So the question is, since the whole world is moving to cloud and assuming cloud security completely handled by cloud service providers, is there a threat to the info or cybersec startups, or do you see more new business opportunities? So if I understand, I want to make sure that I understand the question correctly. What you are saying is that since the entire infrastructure is managed by cloud security providers, is there any risk to your data, or is that something to be looked upon as a business opportunity? I think the answer is the latter. Most cloud security providers or cloud providers today, are following very stringent security guidelines, whether it is your SOC 2 certification, SOC 3 certification, ISO, PCI, all the major cloud security providers, are certified on those standards. So you can be pretty rest assured that your data is safe and secure. Of course, there are regulations which are local regulations around data sovereignty and data residency, which needs to be followed. And to be fair to these cloud providers, they have presence across the globe. So you can pretty safely assume that the major cloud providers will have their data centers in India as well. Having said that, the benefits of adopting cloud are multifold, right? You can focus on your business. You don't have to worry about keeping the lights on, okay? And at the same time, it is pretty elastic. If you are, say, for example, developing a new product, and if you want to market that product or launch that product, with cloud, it becomes so easy for you to launch and get going instead of having to do cycles of infrastructure refreshes on your data center. So it really helps business accelerate to the next level. We all saw that in the pandemic time. We all were able to survive, and the business was resilient only and only because cloud was there, right? I'm sure we would not have been able to achieve a successful work from home if cloud was not there. So I think the benefits clearly outweigh the risks that you are perceiving for cloud, which are actually close to none. So I would say a definite yes in terms of a business opportunity.
Yeah. Just to add to that, even in cloud, there are multiple models. You can take your private instance. You can, if the cost is prohibitive, you can go for a shared instance. And maybe to start with, a startup can look at a shared instance, and then over a period when they grow in their business and scale, and when their affordability goes up, move into a private instance within the cloud. And in cloud, you have multiple opportunities to enhance as an option to add security layers there. So you don't have to go with the default option given by the public cloud. You also have opportunity and option to add specific to your business need and the threat vectors.
Good afternoon, all panelists, and thanks to Mr. Sanjay to give you opportunity to ask a question here. So question is that since we are in fertilizer, it's a fast-growing fertilizer, having thousands and across 20 locations pan India we're handling. Point is that how to get the right solution from the right partner. because OEM SLA is not at all matched with as per the expected desired level of the customers. I had a words with the multiple CIOs, having with our multiple parties as well, but the expectation is not with the L3 questions or something like that. Point is that there is a very critical phishing attack, ransomware attack happened, but OEMs have their own protocol that within 2 days, 3 days, we don't have a direct number. So I would like to ask how the things are being managed, or it is being faced by us only.
See, the only suggestions are like this. Look at, there are, as you rightly pointed out, there are 3 levels of support. L1 comes from the service provider, L2 comes from the typical VATs, and the L3 from the respective OEMs. So look at when you are investing in a solution or a product or a technology, at least for the next 5 years, you have to own it, and then you have to internally deliver the results out of it. So that ownership is on you as a buyer of any particular technology. So from that perspective, it is important for you to look at the track record of the players. So is the service provider whom you are talking to, do they understand the technology? There's no point looking at an ERP guy for a security. Vice versa, there's no point going for buying a security from an ERP guy. So you pick up the right partner who has got the capabilities, look at the track record of the partner, look at his support systems, his turnaround times, his SLAs, his longevity in the market, his skill sets, what kind of skill set the partner has. Does it meet your requirement for the kind of business you run? So that would be from a partner. And look at from a OEM perspective, have they invested in the geography? Are they testing waters in India? Are they here for the long? How many people do they have in India kind of a geography which we are operating out of? Do they have a technical team in India supporting Indian customers? So these are the basic things you look at while taking a call, so that post purchase, that's when the real game starts for you. You are able to really do justice, manage it well, and be answerable in a confident way within your system for the investment which you have made.
And Sriram, if I may, I will add to something what Sriram said. What Sriram said, these are the things which you need to take care of during the evaluation of SIs or during the evaluation of OEMs. And when it comes to actual execution, you should ensure that you bind them with service level agreements and operating level agreements. Ensure, because now that you are selecting a system integrator, and through system integrator you are binding some OEM with him, you need to ensure that the service level agreements and operating level agreements are in place and they are very stringent, mapping to the requirements which you have. There are LD clauses, liquidated damage clauses. There are penalty clauses, because if the agreement, and no agreement can be an agreement if there are no penalty clauses or liquidated damage clauses. And last but not the least, ensure that you get into an agreement wherein the indemnity is clearly mentioned. So the indemnity clause of the agreement will ensure that if there is a problem with OEM or SI in terms of some patents, in terms of some intellectual property issues, or in terms of certain other things, then you can go back and claim it in the court of law. That legal remedy should be available with you anytime when you enter into these agreements. Thank you very much.
Hi.
Yeah, hi, Biren, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is the reskilling for the existing employee is beneficial, or outsourcing is more beneficial?
Okay. So if I may, I would say it all depends upon how your enterprise appetite for resource management is. If you have in-house resources, I would say definitely they need to get to some level. Reskilling in the technology domain has been an area which always have been the talk of the day. I would say, as on today, in information and cybersecurity domain, you need to learn, you need to unlearn, and you need to relearn on day-to-day basis. That is what the subject is. Means we cannot go out of it. If we want to be on top of things, we need to be on top of what we understand and what we know. Having said that, yes. Reskilling, if you do not have that niche clause with you for operations and management and all, I would advise that yes, that part should be outsourced to some third party so that they do that run of the mill kind of work.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else is having any questions? So
I would like to kind of
please.
chime into that as a question as well. Because for a lot of enterprises, I think it makes sense to outsource, because you are getting ready-made skills to run your operations, right? As we all know, talent retention is a big concern even for a country like India, right? Because the moment somebody gets a better opportunity, they don't hesitate to leave. So there are specialized system integrators and MSSP partners who have cracked this code, in terms of maintaining an adequate bench or maintaining an adequate level of skill set, irrespective of the amount of churn. So for enterprises who are looking to kind of roll out this service in a timely manner, I think outsourcing comes really handy, and I think sometimes it is even more cost effective.
Yes, thank you.
I think Pranav Karan has a question. Would anybody like to take it up? Sumeet,
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So Sriram, do you want to pick this up? So basically, Pranav wants to know that if we go in for a cloud-based security solution, so are there any kind of hidden or hidden cost? And even he mentions a nightmare also.
Okay. So we need to get certain perspectives right between a CapEx model and an OpEx model. Okay. The advantage you get in a CapEx is that the tax loss, the depreciation, and the tax benefits you get over time. So in a 5 to 6 year period point of time, you completely own the asset. And after that, you don't pay anything for it. In an OpEx model, you perpetually end up paying to the extent. So there's no end-to-end EMI kind of a scenario in an OpEx model. So the question is like this: is your business so dynamic? Is it growing at a very fast rate? Is there very seasonal changes between the year, between the months in your loads? So then it becomes uneconomical for you to design your system for the peak load, because the rest of the days you are not optimally utilizing the infrastructure. So the best solution in that kind of a scenario is to go for a hybrid kind of a cloud, where for 60 to 70% of your steady state requirement, you manage it within your private data center, that CapEx model. And whenever there is I would say, seasonal load or a burst load, then you take advantage of bursting into the public clouds and then leveraging them as and when there is a need. So you don't end up perpetually paying for your loads in a public cloud. At the same time, whenever there is a business requirement, you are able to tap into that opportunity, which is available dynamically to you. So a hybrid model would help optimize your, I would say, doing too much on your private data center, as well as paying perpetually in public cloud. So that way you can optimize on your costs, and which is in line with your business needs.
Sure. Thanks so much.
I think Harshil can add some input into it, since it's something related to your area.
Yeah, so while I deliberately didn't ask Harshil earlier, but Harshil, yeah, you can add, because the question is also related to any hidden cost. So while because you are one of the service provider yourself. So
yeah. So I had a counter question to Pranav, if he can be muted.
Yeah. Okay.
I would like to understand if he has had any nightmarish experience with cloud, and I wanted to understand from where this question is coming from. Because this is a very competitive environment, and most cloud providers today, whether it is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, all of them have cutthroat SLAs backed up with penalty clauses, which are very biased towards, I would say, to the customers, that it is very attractive to kind of ignore them, right? Of course, I would never say cloud is more inexpensive than on-premises. It always comes with a cost, but I would always urge enterprise to look at the long-term benefits of cloud, right? First, and the foremost is that traditionally there was a huge army of IT professionals required just to keep the lights on. Okay, somewhere that investment could have gone into developing your business even more or focusing on business outcomes. I think cloud has solved that problem. Today, you can innovate at a much faster pace, not worried about whether your IT operations will run seamlessly or not. I think cloud has solved that problem to a very large extent. Secondly, I think as Sriram, very aptly kind of described, because it is a very elastic kind of a setup where you can upgrade the capacity and degrade the capacity as per your business load. I think that dynamism and fluidity is what is required in IT operations. If you try to do that on premises, I think it will take months or years to kind of increase or decrease capacity, right? So those kind of dynamic changes without disrupting business is what cloud brings to the picture. As far as any hidden cost or any nightmares are concerned, I think most SaaS, most cloud contracts, as Muneer was also mentioning, have these ring fences built very, very, very correctly for the customers, whether it is availability SLAs, whether it is limitations of liability, whether it is privacy, whether it is termination, right? All of those are very neatly kind of described in the cloud contracts, and if you kind of negotiate that well with the cloud provider, I think it's a pretty safe bet, and the benefits clearly outweigh the perceived risks that you have.
Yeah, thanks Harshil for that view. Sanjay, if I think there are no any more questions, over to you then.
All right, I think if there is any question, by the way, we can take that up. But in the meantime, I'd request Sumeet to close it and give your or others final one-liner comment on or advice on this.
Sure. Thanks. So first of all, thanks to all my panelists for this wonderful discussion. So at least I'm feeling more secure, and I know there's a service out there. And we know whom to approach and whom to take the opinion from. But just to conclude, things are moving on from just from knowing that something has happened to kind of predicting it, or as Harshil very well rightly showed us how it is moving on. Because as we speak, there is some threat building up. Would it be material or not? We can't say, but knowing that it is building up is the key. So that is, I think, that is where I would want to leave the audience with that thought in mind. Because analysis, what we are talking as a service, is based on that particular need itself. Do I know now or would I know later only? So with that, I thank all of you and also the audience for this session. Yes, Sanjay, carry on.
All right, thank you, Sumeet. Thanks to all our attendees, those who spared so much of time, valuable time when we are thinking of opening up and joining in physical environment and coming forward and sitting for 1 hour, spending 1 hour and a half, 30 minutes in virtual environment is also difficult now. But I promise you very quickly, maybe in a month's time, we'll catch up somewhere in Bangalore or Bombay or Delhi in some hotels, and we'll chat up and do our discussion and continue our storytelling. All right, thank you very much. And before I wind up, I definitely thank our esteemed speakers, starting from Mr. Sumeet Sharma, Associate Director, KPMG, India. Sumeet, thank you very much. Rishi, Rajpal, Global Security Leader, Concentrix. Mr. Muneer, Wani, Chief Information Security Officer, J&K Bank. Harshil Doshi, Regional Director, India and SAARC, Securonix. Sriram S, Chief Strategy Officer, iValue Info Solutions Private Limited. Thank you for your wisdom and sharing your time with us and explaining about where the industry is moving forward and what kind of steps that the security leaders and IT leaders to take up, keep themselves, their organization secure and be different and be competitive against the others also. Before I say goodbye to all of you, I would request all to give your feedback. There is a website on the chat box, which is https www.ivalue.co.in. So that's the landing page. Please go and give your feedback there, so that any requirement you have or any feedback you have, anything you wish to us to help you, we will come forward and help you. Thank you very much and stay safe.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks.